Hello there, everyone. Welcome to episode 105 of the Play to Win podcast, a show we break down the week's biggest gaming news through in-depth discussion. My name is Tyler. I'm your co-host. I'm not your co-host. I am a co-host, but I'm the host of the Play to Win podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Tyler as well. How are you doing?
I'm the captain now. Apparently, I'm the host.
My words got all mixed up right there. I was thinking like two sentences ahead or something, and just like, yeah, it also doesn't help that we're both have the exact same name. So just like, oh yeah, Tyler, co-host, and just
we kind of glaze over how funny it is that this just ended up being where it is, because I literally run into no other Tylers now. Like, I've talked about it. We've talked about, I think, on the pod, where as a kid, tons, but as an adult, I really don't run into a ton of other Tylers. So now it's funny now that I'm on a podcast with another one.
Two T's on a pod. Tell me, two T's on a pod. That's what it is. What it is. How's it been going though with you?
It's all right. It's not too bad. A little tired, but ready to talk about the brief things we have to talk about. A little Jedi Survivor in last night. I'm excited to play that the rest of the week. Less excited to play Redfall, but I don't think it's going to be bad. I've been on the record. It's just like, I think it's going to be fine. Yeah. And now I'm just like, as it gets closer, I'm like, yeah, this sure is going to be a video game.
Yeah, I told you, before we start recording, I keep forgetting Redfall's dropping like in a couple days. One day after this episode goes live, I keep forgetting about that. But I am going to try to make time to play it some before next week's episode, so I could talk about that in addition to Star Wars Jedi, because I did play that a bit as well. Thursday. So
it is objectively hilarious that Microsoft, who is starved for exclusives, has dropped the ball. Let's just say they've fucked up this bad about what is a big branded, not quite a temple, but definitely still like an important exclusive for them. And they've just messed this all up this bad, like dropping it between Survivor, Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom's a month out before, new E3 or whatever we're calling it. So it's not like that can't be successful. There have been plenty of games that are good released around that time frame, but it's just funny that like it seemingly has nothing going for it. Its market is people that straight up are not playing games that aren't on Game Pass, that own an Xbox. They're just like, please, everyone that has an Xbox and isn't buying Jedi Survivor, go play this instead. And it's like, that doesn't feel like a recipe for success. And ultimately, I just feel bad for Arcane. Because maybe like I said, I'm not anti the game. It just feels like it's going to be a 7 or, like upside is an 8. But it's like, just to have all of this released around your game just kind of sucks a little bit,
You know what I just realized? Like, because I keep forgetting Redfall comes out on May 2nd on Tuesday, dude, review embargo.
Ooh, yeah, it hasn't.
It just hit me. It just hit me. Like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, the Star Wars reviews dropped on Wednesday.
I haven't checked really social media or anything. Have they dropped today for Redfall?
I haven't seen anyone talk about it at all this morning. So
because Jedi Survivor, I mean, that was pretty close to release, and I haven't read a ton of reviews, but I've seen it get pretty high reviews. So
yeah, and like even sometimes you'll see people do that thing where like, oh yeah, I have it, I'm reviewing it, look forward to the reviews soon. Like, none of that for Redfall actually.
But this is Bethesda's thing, right? It's like the release date shit.
I remember some time ago. I remember some time ago they were doing a thing where they weren't sending out review codes until the day of release for a game. Yeah. I don't know if they're still doing that, because I don't remember what happened with Deathloop specifically, since that was the most recent one I could think of.
Deathloop, it was still same day, I think. I could be wrong.
Can you check that for me real quick? Like Deathloop reviews, because Deathloop came out
like
beginning or like look up September?
Deathloop's review for my GN or something, and then
the game's release.
I'll just look up Deathloop review embargo.
Yeah, because I feel like the reviews for that dropped before the game came out. I think they did. This is interesting. If they did drop beforehand, and we haven't heard a lick of news at all about reviews coming for Redfall, period.
It said September 13th. Meanwhile, when did the game release?
Right. I feel like because the game did come out around the middle of September.
I
I
feel
remember
like
that
it came out the
middle to end,
14th. So
day
reviews were allowed
before.
to drop a day before.
All right, so I mean, I guess that's par for
But
the
that
course
means
then.
I wonder if they gave codes. That's also a little different.
Well,
Um,
they certainly had to have had given codes. Like
we'll
this is.
gave codes earlier than the 13th.
Oh yeah, well the review embargo was the 13th. That means reviews definitely were out by the 13th for sure.
Well,
So
I mean, if it's day and date, I don't know. I maybe the reason maybe they were just like, hey, I think Microsoft's less antagonistic towards review outlets, which I think is maybe played a part in that.
yeah, but I mean, this is also Bethesda still has some autonomy in how they proceed with things and all like that. So, okay,
Yeah,
I
as
guess
far as making games, but I think Microsoft's like, hey, listen, we're not worried about bad reviews. We're more worried about like fostering a good relationship with these companies. So just send them the fucking codes.
yeah, I guess I guess hopefully we'll see Redfall reviews Monday when this goes live, and hopefully
Yeah,
they're good. Hopefully,
I hope
man,
it's good. I hope it's not like a bunch of fives out of tens and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, great. This is
I'm
what I
not
have to look.
expecting that. I'm expecting at minimum sevens. That's what I'm expecting. At minimum
I,
sevens, probably eights for the most part. I'm not expecting many nines, but if it gets nines, I'll be like, oh wow, okay,
yeah, to be surprisingly like, oh, nice. Look at
okay,
that.
look at that. All right,
Meanwhile,
okay.
Jedi Survivor, I mean, I don't know. We talk about it. I don't, as part of the thing, but I haven't even checked its critic or anything, but it feels like it's gotten a couple 5 out of 5s. I know like Kind of Funny gave it a 5 out of 5. So I'm assuming there's probably a couple tens wafting around in the ether. But like a lot
Maybe,
of heavy mid 8s, high 9s.
yeah. Well, it's been getting some good scores. I think its Metacritic's probably like mid 80s. I haven't checked it. I don't really go on Metacritic. This is an
I don't
interesting
need,
way to start the
I never go
episode.
to Metacritic, but
This is a very interesting way to start the episode. Just not even into the news, none of that. Just like I'm just kind of.
to be fair, there's so little news. Why
It
even
is.
keep the
It
formality? It's
yeah.
when there's nothing in the episode,
Well,
structure
nothing.
is not
Yeah,
as needed. It's like we're gonna talk
yeah,
about 2 things today, all maybe three. Let's just
yeah, yeah. It's there's
buckle
only
in.
there's only two real main news stories this episode, but it's a fun and little opening conversation right there. Like even before the other thing I was gonna mention here at the top of the episode too. Like wow, like uh
87, by the way.
87 for Star
Compare
Wars.
Jedi Survive. That's what it's sitting at right now. Comparatively, Fallen Order has a 79.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Um, so subscribe, hit the notification bell, podcast services, YouTube, all that stuff. But with that in mind, I'm just gonna announce this right now. Instead of delaying, belaboring the point or anything. Um, the podcast is going to be coming to an end very soon.
I just hold on. I have to point out the contrast. Of course, go forward with your statement, but it was objectively hilarious because when you said subscribe and all that, in my head, I was like, well, I mean, I was like, whatever. He's probably gonna wait to tell people. Otherwise, why would he be like subscribe and all that jazz? And then you just immediately after that were like, well, let's talk about this.
Yeah, I was like, just peel the band-aid off. Like, give support, but also just keep in mind this. No, but seriously, okay. Don't want to belabor the point or anything like that. The podcast is going to be coming to an end soon. Specifically, the last one that we will be recording is going to be May 27th, which will be going live May 29th. That is how May works. The reason I'm for legitimately was sitting here, I was like, May
It's
has
fine. It's,
28
the way you
days
did
or
it was
not.
funny. That's all.
I just couldn't remember if May had 28 days or not, but it has 30 days. That's correct. No, 31.
It has
31.
31.
June has 30. Mine is all over the place because of the conversation we
He's
had
getting
earlier with dates and all
This is
like
the
that.
episode, folks. He's getting February and May confused.
It's a wild one.
It's a loose one. We only got
It's
4 left.
it's a bit of a loose one. Um, but I guess the last episode 109, recording May 27th, going live May 29th. This is a decision that it's being made for a couple of reasons. I'm not going to get too in depth about them per se, like in terms of like the in the weeds of the specifics of it all. But what it ultimately boils down to is there is a there was a lot going on personally right now which is taking up a lot of my mind share and a lot of my energy and a lot of my time. And because of that, it's detracting from my enjoyment and energy for the podcast, which don't want that to suffer. I enjoy doing the podcast with Tyler. It's been a blast. It's been a great time and all like that. Um, and I feel it suck taking away my enjoyment from this and also just like playing games as well. Because of how it involves with the podcast, the game, like trying to stay up to date on games and news and everything like that. And it's not as enjoyable, fulfilling, fun because of everything else going on right now. That's part of it. Part of it is also, I've mentioned before, this project that I'm kind of working on or that I want to work on, which that's also going to, I haven't started working on it in earnest yet, but I'm going to soon. And that's also going to take a lot of energy and time from me. And originally, I was thinking, things would end around August or so, but because of other personal life things happening right now, the timeline has jumped up a whole lot. And I said, I didn't want to just, if I really wanted to be cold turkey and be like, today's the last one, but no, I don't want to do that. That'd be crazy. That'd be super weird and wild.
Would it be crazy though?
It would be crazy. It would be.
We could go out just assuming as good as Tears of the Kingdom is, Breath of the Wild is still the GOAT. And we could just end on a happy note. Now we got to play Tears of the Kingdom and talk about that and have that conversation.
It's like that was also part. I want to have that conversation with you. I want to be able to talk about Tears of the Kingdom with you. So that was also part of why. Sick. Yeah, that's also part of why I'm like, what, the 27th. We'll get
last
Tears
3
of the
episodes.
Kingdom.
That's all we're talking about, folks.
Right. We'll have Tears of the Kingdom. We'll be able to talk about that with each other at length. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, the PlayStation Showcase happens in May because there's rumors that it is. And if it does and it happens before the 27th, we'll be able to talk about that and end on a presumably high showcase note. Yes, that means we will not be talking about E3, not E3, summer showcase season with Summer Games Fest and the Xbox show and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, yes, I could like say, all right, we'll prolong it to mid-June / end of June or whatnot to have that discussion. But at the end of the day, personal happiness, mental sustainability, and sanity matters more. And I don't believe that I have it in me to push it that far right now. I think end of May is a good window. It allows us to talk about one of the biggest games of the year, potentially the best game of the year. Have some fun conversations about it and some other stuff before making a graceful exit with episode 109. It's not 110, but 109 is still not a bad number. And that would also mark 30 episodes with Tyler, 30 on the dot, because he came in episode 79.
And if those 30 episodes have been your favorite episodes, I will also I'll be making content. So yeah. I've like personal stuff, have had like a whole move across states, et cetera, et cetera. So I really haven't been able to make stuff, but come like July, I'm gonna hopefully have it sucks because just the past 2 like rooms I've had and everything haven't been up to the quality that I want. But like I had a sick, like our original Good Game We Lost studio was sick as hell, and I am absolutely gonna have a sick as hell studio and hopefully get to make some sick content. So
it's gonna be kind of funny level, guys.
Yeah, like I love doing that kind of stuff. I love making that project. That's my end goal, is to like foster a community like that, or at least get paid like that. So right. I will be back making content in July. So definitely, and I'll try and like maybe post more often, or just like at least stuff leading up to that. So maybe about E3, like that E3 time frame. So I'll still, like, if you're not following me, it's less of a plug and more of just like, hey, if you like listening to me specifically talk, I can vouch. Tyler may make an appearance. I don't know. I've formally extended him. It's like an MCU, but with a question mark, like he may reappear, but I don't know if I'll do a pod, especially if I don't have Tyler. I may wait till like there's a more fitting time if, I need another co-host, but I'll be making shit. I'll make probably video essays for YouTube. A lot of like the stuff that works for short form though, TikToks and shit like that. Where you just like review like snacks and then you just like it's more of conversational. It is like more getting to know someone throughout the week than it is like this once a week kind of event, but it'll still be stuff, still talk about games, and shoot the shit. So
Where is it
by
that
all
people can
means,
find you?
um, it's a good game we lost. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And I'm not changing the handles or anything. And it does pull up if you search "Good Game We Lost." I know because it can be hard sometimes. Play to win. This is a this podcast. We can start talking about it as if it's dead now. It's a very. It's hard to look up because so much other stuff pops up.
Yeah.
Luckily with "Good Game We Lost," nobody else is dumb enough to name their things after that. So, I'm on that corner, baby. All on me.
No, yeah, I definitely still will also be making content in one way or another. My idea, my goal, well, not goal, plan is, going back to my blog that I've started up years and years ago. And over the years kind of fell off it for a number of different reasons. But I want to go back to that, and still be making content, still be writing about games, and then also kind of start like YouTube as start a YouTube that's an extension of my blog as well. And like the ideas and plans that I kind of have for things I want to do over there, like kind of new things I want to do over there, it's not all set in stone. But yet, like, yes, it'll still take time and energy, but I'll be able to kind of do it my own pace and my own leisure, so on and so forth. I won't necessarily be so locked into the every week, so on and so forth type thing, which, you know, while it's been enjoyable, it can be a grind, especially when, it's been, especially since I've took over the lead hosting duties and everything. So that's my plan right now. My blog, the comfy spot
I was about to say,
wordpress.com.
for the audience, would they be following you under the same handles? Just
So I mean,
get
you
your
can still
stuff
follow
out there.
me. You can still follow me on Twitter,
Yeah,
Tyler Miller 2496.
yeah, that's
But the blog, my blog, the comfy spot.wordpress.com. It also has a Twitter, the comfy spot. That's also been around as
so.
well. The links
Would you
are on my Twitter bio as well. So if you go to my
prefer the
Twitter, you'll see them there.
if you prefer the dead art of writing, folks?
The dead art of writing.
Yeah, who's writing? Who's blogging in 2023?
I damn it. So
But
yeah,
but yeah, so
that's
if
the
we're a
plan.
little faster and looser the next 4 or 5 weeks, that's why, and just
Yeah,
it's funny. I can see how it is more stressful with this format. Because to be clear to everyone here, my podcast, if it ever comes back as a podcast, not just YouTube, whatever, this is why I don't like structure as much. I'm just like, of course talk about the news a little bit, but it's not like, oh, we're hitting these bullet points. It's like an hour and a half of vibes, baby. We're talking about what we played, we're talking about the news, but it's also just like fast and fun. And that's how I keep it loose,
yeah,
baby. So that's what you can expect if you tune in to Good Game We Lost come July. But June would for sure just be more like, oh, I'll make TikToks about like these are the best E3 games, blah blah blah, that.
yeah. And like as for me, like in the near future, once this ends and all, when it comes to my blog, like I still do intend to review Tears of the Kingdom and Final Fantasy. I will just do it on my own blog.
Yeah,
What
I think for the
that'll look.
brand, I have to review Tears of the Kingdom,
Yeah, you have.
but it's
If you
hard to capture
didn't, I would be
footage for
disappointed.
that. That's the pain in the ass. The Switch does
Uh
not make capturing easy.
how will you use to capture?
Right. So here's the funny part, right? The Xbox and the PlayStation have just made capturing easy. And because I have a Mac, like it's annoying as hell. You have a Mac too. I
I do.
I hate the way the Elgato capture cards work and the fact that it's 1080 anyways, and you need like a PC with a very expensive capture card for 4K. I just record straight up on a like I know when I'm kind of like gonna hit parts and like I'm
So you
trying
do
to
it
get
like
certain
that.
amounts. So I record through the controller, batch record in like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes just like a minute if I just want something very specific. And then I go through, load it onto I need to get like an actual hard drive for it, but right now I just have like a 64 gig little memory
Give us.
flash drive. And then I edit it all in DaVinci Pro.
Mm,
And then I just I edit it, and then DaVinci likes landscape for whatever reason more. So then I airdrop it back to my iPhone, go in and edit it and put it in portrait mode. So that way, yeah, it's funny. It sounds like a lot, but in my head, it's
That
just
is
one of those things. I'm one of those people where
yeah.
it's like there's certain steps are easier in my head than the other steps people take, and like this is easier. And I'm like, not to my brain. and but it works. It's a process, but I get it done
Yeah.
relatively. It's not as long and laboring as it sounds, and then it's like boom. That's how I get all my footage up for reviews. So I
Yeah.
don't
I
think the
can't imagine
Switch
trying to do
has,
that with a Switch. That's a
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have a built-in capture feature
it
like that. I
does,
don't
but it's
believe.
only 30 seconds.
You know what? I can do it for Tears of the Kingdom. I will make an exception. Oh shit!
It's like because it's like this. It's
I
like
don't have a memory card. Damn, I'm gonna have to buy a memory card just for that, huh? A Switch memory
yeah,
card.
because it's like it's only 30 seconds. So if you hold down the share button, it automatically records whatever happened in the past 30 seconds. That it's like very bare bones. So yeah, like my capture
Well,
thing, I've talked about on the show before. My capture thing, I bought the Elgato 4K 60S Plus, which because I have a Mac, right? And as you said, most of Elgato stuff is like, yeah, PC only, essentially. Or if you want to use it on the Mac, you have to like kind
it
of go through
allows
hoops to make it work on a Mac.
the 4K you bought though. That allows. I have the same one. It allows for pass through, but it doesn't actually record natively in 4K. You have to buy the like one that is inserted into the PC
No,
to actually natively
the one
record
I
in
have
4K.
the one I have natively records 4K. Mine natively records 4K, and what I it uses an SD card to record the footage onto. That's the only way I'm able to. That's how I'm able to do it with this because I just put it on the SD card. Well, it records on the SD card, and I just plug the SD card to my computer, put it on my external, put the footage on my external hard drive, and go from there. And it records it. It lets me play and record in 4K 60 HDR.
We're we're now a tech podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Tyler's Tech Tips.
I'm not trying to steal from Linus. Okay, I know of him. Not trying to not trying to jack his name or anything.
You know, he can have people surfing on the coattails of that name. He'll be all right. Um,
but no, yeah,
but
hopefully it's not too much of a pain for you recording Tears of the Kingdom footage.
man, it will be. But you know, that's the beauty of 60-second reviews. It's like you don't need no. You really. That's the thing. I'm using 3-second shots, like because I don't
Yeah,
want my review to be lazy and shitty. So I've got there's a lot of edits in there.
yeah. Oh, that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, that's kind of a peek into the future for us, for Play to Win and all. The next 4 weeks after this episode, I want to try to be able to do something fun each episode, like a fun little segment of some sort. I'm thinking of some. One of them for certain will be hot takes, giving hot takes because Tyler has lots of hot takes. I would love to hear them. Love to go back and forth about some. I have to think of hot takes I have myself because I'm not really a hot take person. So I got to think of some, see if I have any. But that'll be a fun segment. So yeah, like you said, things might be a bit more fast and loose over the next couple weeks. But nonetheless, we're still going to try to have a fun time, make a good show, put on a good show, and good vibes.
Having a funeral for it. The last episode.
Just get dressed up in all black and everything. Get dressed up in all black. We come here today as we, say our last rites to the Play to Win podcast. And that day, instead of the backdrop for the episode being the normal blue and white, I'll just make it black and white instead. Just like drain all the color from it, make it black.
No, just go find a funeral picture or like not a funeral, but a whatchamacallit, why am I spacing on the name of like where everyone's buried? A
Graveyard?
Cemetery. Find a cemetery picture, and so it looks like we're having the funeral. We're burying it.
Photoshop our faces, like just like put our faces on like someone's body, like a person standing there or something like that. That'd be interesting.
Now you're gonna get more views than any video you've ever got. It's like my co-host killed my podcast, and you Photoshop that meme where he's like this on top of the grave, and you can just Photoshop
the
my head.
The Grant Gustin one.
It's all just clickbait. It's just the regular episode, but
normally whenever like something is like something died, right? So like the thumbnail will be like the Stadia episode when Stadia was announced it was dead, right? those I tend to be like, all right, this is dead. And the thumbnail is a picture of a grave, like a tombstone with the thing's name on it. And that's what I've done for the thumbnail. And it said Stadia is dead. Um, Play to Win is dead. No, I would never do that. I wouldn't do that. That the
You know how
cynic
many
in
more
me.
views on your Stadia is dead you would have gotten if you've like put Microsoft or some streaming service with the meme where he's like crouching over the
Well,
thing.
Stadia is the one
Gotta
that
get the
killed
people's
itself.
views.
Stadia
The
killed
high kind of
itself.
high quality content you can expect once the podcast is over from me, folks.
Oh man. All right. We have joked a bunch, got important news out the way. Let's talk about this week's gaming news. The main news, the big news that Tyler missed because the
It
algorithm did
wasn't
not
that
put it in
big, all
front.
right.
The algorithm said, you know what? We don't need to put this in front of you, fam. You don't need to see this. You'll learn
Yeah.
about it on the fly, on the spot. That being that the CMA, the UK's Communications and Markets Authority, I was blanking on the name, they have blocked the Activision Blizzard acquisition in the UK. It's kind of a shocking turn of events. Many people were kind of expecting it to go through because we recently the CMA they said, hey, you know what? We're not concerned with Call of Duty exclusivity on consoles anymore. That's not our concern anymore. Whatever. Now we're focusing on the cloud side of things. And people were thinking, okay, it's going to go through. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's not. I'm going to read a bit of this article straight from Ryan Disdale at IGN because there's a lot to talk about with this. So I'm going to just read a bit straight from the article as opposed to trying to like parse through the points myself. The UK government's Competition and Markets Authority has moved to prevent Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Announced on the government's website, the decision to block the deal was due to the implications for cloud gaming. Quote, the deal would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come, end quote. Microsoft has retaliated by saying it will appeal the decision, saying it is, quote, disappointed by the result that, quote, appears to reflect a flawed understanding of the market. Brad Smith, vice chair and president of Microsoft, said, quote, we remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition's concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. We've already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices, and we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. We're especially disappointed that after lengthy deliberations, this decision appears to reflect a flawed understanding of this market, the way the cloud technology actually works, end quote. I'll pause it right there. Tyler, just after hearing that bit right there, what are you thinking? And are you a bit surprised that it was the cloud gaming side of things that made them say, actually, you know what, we're going to block this deal?
I mean, I don't know. I like that's the thing. I don't know enough about the legal side of all this to like truly, know or be shocked by what side. I mean, yeah, I think there is a case to be made that like hoarding all these assets for one subsect that appears to be a very popular, forward-thinking section of the gaming market could be more of an issue than a singular franchise. Because I mean, owning a singular franchise, I don't think really true like I was ubiquitous and huge as Call of Duty is. Ultimately, it is a singular franchise, and you can absolutely exist in the video game market without having that franchise on your system, even if it does hurt a big amount. But yeah, like I don't know. I think it's little. I mean, saying streaming is just like I feel like it has all these connotations. It's like the same shit we've been hearing for the last decade about like, oh, streaming is the future, and it's like yes, but no, because like infrastructure for internet, blah blah blah. But ultimately, I think it's just with how online focused so much of the industry is at this point, having all those assets, having all those franchises in one, like under one roof, under one exclusive umbrella, could be like, I get how that can be viewed as basically having a monopoly on a very popular section. Like outside of
Mm-hmm.
that, it's like feels like Apex and Fortnite, and that's it. And you've got the rest of them all to yourself.
Yeah.
So I get that. I still have not I've like not had a hope or like my position's been there's going to be a lot of delays, but this will eventually happen. I have not changed that stance, but this is the first time I've been like, I don't know, maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm still going to hold
Yeah.
my stance until proven wrong. Um, but you know, I mean, it's possible. It is kind of hilarious how like the universe was like, they're going to talk about this subject one more fucking time. Like I'm like holding the Microsoft Blizzard gun to our head, just being like, talk about it one more time before this is over. Because
You
I
see,
just
this
every
was
time I
the
see
tipping
this, I
point for
groan.
me.
I'm just like, not
I I
again.
know this was the tipping point. This was what made me say, you know what? Actually, know what? We're done. We're done. In the main, we're done. We're not doing it anymore. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
You
Um,
blame Microsoft and all this legal stuff.
um, but no, yeah, I mean, there's I'm gonna get back to what you said about like your thoughts on the cloud gaming because the CMA kind of agrees with you to an extent. Um, but no, yeah, I was shocked when I read this because I was like, oh, like I was kind of expecting it to go through as well. I was thinking, Call of Duty was the main sticky point. And once it said, yeah, no, it's not a sticky point for us anymore. Look at the cloud gaming side of things. I was thinking it was going to go through. So then to see the news that, oh, no, it's not on their end, that they're blocking it, I was like, oh, wow. Especially, and then, you have the FTC in the US suing them to try to block the law, block the acquisition as well. So it was like, oh man, that's not looking good at all. Like now it's like just the European Union where like they're seeming maybe it'll go through there. We still gotta wait to see their decision. But I was pretty surprised. I was not expecting this at all in the slightest bit. This whole time I've been of the mindset of it'll probably go through, but maybe it won't, but chances are it will. And now this is where I'm like, oh, maybe this actually won't go through. Maybe it's not gonna happen. Maybe it's not as not as
Because like,
certain as it once seemed.
yeah, what that I mean, I guess that's the one thing. Like, what does it take to remedy this? I don't know. Like, is
Right.
because it seems like they're saying just the owning of all of these assets is too much. So even if Microsoft's like, hey, in perpetuity, if they sign a contract saying Call of Duty's never leaving PlayStation, is that enough? I don't know. Because again, I don't know enough about the legal side, but is that up for review? Does that count? Like, how do they, I don't
Well, I
really
mean,
know how this proceeds, but
Call of Duty on console is no longer a concern for the CMA. It's now the cloud stuff. And now this is where I'll get into like some of the CMA's concerns with regards to the cloud side of things. IGN's Rebecca Valentine, she wrote up a long piece about like why cloud gaming might cause the deal to be blocked. Go read it. It's a good read. I've kind of boiled it down to 4 points though, essentially 4 5 points. So essentially the CMA felt that Microsoft having control of series like Overwatch, World of Warcraft, and Call of Duty would give them too much power in the cloud gaming space with regards to exclusivity because the cloud gaming space is still an emerging market essentially. As of 2022, Microsoft's cloud gaming market share was between 60 and 70%, whereas in 2021 it was between 20 and 30%. So like going up such a huge amount in a year, like whoa, okay. So Microsoft having power over these franchises, in addition to the already extensive library that they have on Game Pass, would give them a giant head start by potentially preventing or deterring other companies from entering the cloud gaming space. On top of that, Microsoft also owns Windows, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and the Azure Cloud servers, which already gives them this a large in-house advantage as well that would cause them to potentially be too powerful by merging with Activision Blizzard. Uh, they also felt that Microsoft would be incentivized to raise the price of Game Pass if the deal went through. I see that as kind of like a non-starter argument because, as we've already discussed, that's going to happen one way or another. Like eventually, that will happen. So I see that as a neither here nor there point. But everything else they said, I was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. It all makes sense in the sense of like cloud gaming may be a nascent market right now, but say 5 years from now, it's much bigger and everything like that. There's like it's more viable for people to try to to do cloud gaming. If people go into cloud gaming, they're going to see Microsoft staying, and it's just like, well, why would we go anywhere else when you have all this stuff here over here
yeah,
and you're on your side where your service is already solid in terms of connections and latency and everything. And then you already have this large library. Why would I go anywhere else? And then you see other competitors are like, why would we go in when like we have to we have to try to get all these games onto our service because content is, an important factor. That's why Stadia essentially failed. The content and their market strategy, not market strategy, their strategy for their business strategy was flawed. It wasn't that great, and they didn't have the content to back it up. Microsoft has all this content to back it up, and they have all the servers, they have everything there. So I can understand what the CMA is saying here with this argument. What do you think after hearing all that?
I mean, it makes sense. Like I get it, but I mean, I guess also I'm so used to like the US not giving a shit about this kind of stuff. Because all I can think is like, man, I wish they would care this much about like 5 property management companies like owning the majority of the rental properties in the United States as much as they give a shit about Microsoft potentially having. But then I forget, oh yeah, it's like when the rest of the world is involved, they care about these things. So like that's why ultimately thought this was always going to go through, is like that's just my US brain going over here. Thank you, rest of the world, for caring about these things and stepping in. Because we don't care about monopolies in the US. Just straight up don't care at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I'm of the mindset now reading this that, man, I like I said before, it could go either way. I'm leaning more towards it being like it's probably not gonna happen type thing.
yeah,
Unless
I
Microsoft's gonna appeal it, and who knows how their appeal will go. I mean, analysts don't believe the deal's dead though. VGC asked a couple analysts, and their points boil down to, yeah, appealing is going to be difficult with the CMA because it's just really difficult appealing their decisions, but they think that maybe more concessions could cause it to go through. So one of those concessions was, yeah, we won't put Activision Blizzard titles in Game Pass in the UK. It'll be there in other places, just not the UK, to appease you all. Another concession was agreeing to keep Game Pass at $15 plus inflation. And I see both these concessions as kind of like non-starters for Microsoft, because one, Microsoft wants Game Pass to grow in other markets, so keeping titles off it for other markets is not going to help it grow there. And then two, again, Game Pass cannot stay at the price. It will most likely not be able to stay at the price it's at. They're going to eventually raise that price. So agreeing to keep it at $15, like that's going to be a non-starter.
Yeah, the counter might be, I mean, like, no offense to Europe, the video game market does way bigger numbers in the US. It just does. So they could be like, listen, we keep the shit off Game Pass in Europe. That's fine. Like that's not percentage wise. We're willing to take that to have it in the other markets. US plus as a bonus, the rest of the world. Yeah, fine. Run it. You know what I mean? Like they might be like, yep, sure. We'll do that if it pushes it through. I could see that.
Maybe. So, after all that, Microsoft, they also then said, you know what? We got another deal ready to fire off. Another deal here. And they signed another 10-year cloud gaming deal with this European cloud gaming service, Anywhere, to, quote, stream PC games built by Xbox on this platform, as well as Activision Blizzard titles after the acquisition closes, end quote. So, I mean, they're like, hey, cloud gaming is your concern. Here's another cloud gaming deal. And then you had other cloud gaming services that Microsoft also made deals with say like, hey, actually, we don't agree with this decision, CMA. NVIDIA was like, hey, no, like, trust us. This is fine. I think there was another one that also said the same, like, hey, no. We support Microsoft. We don't trust us on this. So maybe more support and more.
How much are they getting paid? Who knows?
Maybe more 10-year deals will help push it over the hedge, push it over the hump. I mean, but it's interesting, and of course, we are not lawyers. We are not knowledgeable of the many nuances and ins and outs of the industry at this high level. This is literally us kind of being armchair an armchair enthusiast. I'm going to say I'm not even armchair lawyers, armchair enthusiasts here, just kind of trying
I'm
to.
not enthusiastic about this anymore. I'm so tired of it. I just want it to be
I mean,
decided one
gaming
way or the other.
enthusiasts. I mean, gaming enthusiasts. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
it was a
Um,
joke. Yeah,
but no, yeah. I mean, I've seen, like you said, I'm not excited to talk about this anymore. I've seen people say that appealing and the process behind that could possibly take this into end of this year or next year, and it's like, uh, no one. We're tired of the topic.
we're
No
not
one.
free of this anytime soon.
This is gonna just keep on going and going and going. I'm not happy about that. It's like part of me wants the deal to go through just so it's done and no one has to talk about it anymore. We don't have to hear about it anymore. But at the same time, I'm like, let it do its thing. Whatever happens, happens.
If you tune into the Good Game We Lost podcast, if it exists, my promise to you is we will not talk about it till it's official. In one way or the other. People are, there's any comments about the news? What news? I don't care. Talk to me when it's one way or the other.
Yeah, it's something. This whole saga, we were all thinking it was going to be reaching its conclusion, around June, and seems that's not going to be the case. It seems this is going to be going on for way longer. I've seen some people say, "Oh, maybe Microsoft will, maybe if they get another block from the European Union, maybe they'll just like drop the deal entirely." But like, whatever, it's going to take up too much time and money and energy to appeal all this stuff. Maybe that happens. Who knows? Honestly, I just don't think this is done anytime soon. We're gonna be
I
hearing
love
about
the
this
idea of like millions of the most dude bro Call of Duty PlayStation fans and like on Earth donating. No, you don't have. Oh, okay, go that way. Sorry. Just absolutely like celebrating and like getting like winning this quote unquote moral victory just because there's like some like 8 pissed off old British dudes that are just like, it's not happening, Microsoft.
Right. Like I'm sure there are so many PlayStation boys,
Like,
fanboys out there
COD
like,
rules,
yes,
PlayStation forever.
yes.
Just because some old British guy's like, no.
Then the room, Jim Ryan, Jim Ryan, Jim Ryan. Let's go. Oh man. All right. We're done with that. We're done talking about that. Over and done with. Do you want to talk about Star Wars now, or do you want to do these brief mentions then talk about Star Wars?
Just get the brief mentions out the way. We'll just,
Right,
we'll get the junk out the way, and then we'll talk about Star Wars.
Yes, let's do that. Brief mentions right now. First up, PSVR 2. Previously, you could only get it through PlayStation Direct. That will no longer be the case coming up. Soon, it will be available at other retailers as well. We don't know the exact date, though. So
I do want to point out another failure, like just another reason this is a failure, because I guarantee Sony's original plans were like, we don't want to split the profits because they have to give a percentage to Walmart, Target, whoever carries it. I guarantee they're not happy about this. This isn't the Hail Mary, of course. The Hail Mary, as we talked about, go watch that episode of us talking about PSVR 2 being a failure. The Hail Mary will be when we get an insane cut, but this is just another sign that like the desperation is deep.
Yeah, part of me wonders if maybe it was because of production they only wanted to just like have it from one source. So like, okay, like we have this many and we can guarantee that like, you get it from us, we can guarantee like we get the numbers out. Whereas opposed to like maybe if they split it amongst different people, then like production pipeline might make things harder. I wonder. But yeah, it'll be easier to get now. So that's good. Good news there. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is releasing on August 25th of 2023. It's not a far away game. It's coming very, very soon. So fans get happy about that. Nintendo is going to be at Gamescom this year after having not been there since 2019. So if there was any more of a sign that, E3 was losing people for a big reason, this is it. There was talk like maybe Nintendo's not going to be there because they don't have anything to show. They're going to Gamescom 2 months later. They must have something to show. They're going to be going to Gamescom. PS Plus Essential for May. Those games have been announced. It is Chivalry 2 on PS4 and PS5, yeah. Grid Legends on PS4 and PS5, and then Descenders on PS4. Sega of America is unionizing. Good for them. Do your thing. I knew you were gonna be happy about that. I knew you were going to. Um, Dead Island 2 has sold 1 million copies in 3 days, which honestly
More than I
surprised.
would have thought, for sure. Good for them.
Exactly. Exactly. Like given that game's long development time and everything, I'm amazed it sold that many copies in that many days and pumped out the review scores that it did. Like it turned
Yeah,
out
which
it's
was
actually a
like they
good
were
game.
solid. Yeah.
Like, it's actually a good game. It was actually a game that was worth the long development cycle.
I mean, I don't know about all that, but it's funny. Like Dead Island keeps succeeding despite itself.
Yeah, the first game had the amazing, fantastic trailer, and then the game came out and it was
I
like
mean,
not.
the
I
trailer was
love
fine.
I love that trailer. I love that trailer. One of my favorite ones of all time. All right. I never played the
Okay.
game, but I love that trailer. I love it. Okay. I love it.
Funnier.
I didn't play the game not because I didn't want to. I wanted to. There was some reason why I didn't get it. I forgot what it was. Vampire Survivors is getting an animated TV series. Very
Hilarious.
interesting. It's very interesting. I wonder what that's going to be all about. The first Twisted Metal TV show teaser dropped. Um, I don't know if you saw it. The teaser
I
is
didn't see
very
the full
short.
teaser. I saw like 4 seconds of it, and I was like, no, thank you.
The teaser is very short. Like it shows, it's more of a tone setter. So it shows Anthony Mackie in his car. You see some bullets. He's jamming to a song, starts driving. There's explosions in the background, and then you see Sweet Tooth. So you see Sweet Tooth in his ice cream truck. That is literally the teaser. It's less than a minute long. But the whole season will be released on Peacock in full on July 27th. Will I be watching it? No, because I am not getting
Yeah.
Peacock just to watch it. I'm sorry. Hope it's
I
good
mean, I
though.
have Peacock, but I will not be watching it.
If I had Peacock, I would.
It's $2 a month, and it was like I had it during the NFL season, and I just forgot to cancel it. That's what happened there.
$2 a month. You're like,
Yeah,
what's two
it's so
dollars?
hard to just like get mad and be like do that rage cancel when it's like
It's
all
only
over
$2.
again.
Exactly. It's only
Two
$2.
twenty
Like
six. I need to stop because that's how they're getting me. It's $25 in a year, but still can't be bothered.
$24 in a year. Like, darn, how could you? That's $24 that I could have used on something else in a year. Oh man. So the Steam Deck's competitor from Asus, the Asus ROG Ally, it's been talked about. Now the specs and price of it have been leaked. Apparently, will reported the high end version of it will reportedly cost $699, making it $51 higher than the 512 gig Steam Deck. Now, it's also claimed that the high end Ally will have an AMD Z1 Extreme chip, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gig SSD. Uh, for all the super tech dorks, nerds out there, I'm sure that sounds very exciting to you. Asus, they're holding an event on May 11th, though, where they will officially announce the price, specs, and availability of the device. It seems like it could be a nice alternative to a Steam Deck if the battery life is good and
For people that care about PC gaming, I'm sure this is huge. Here's the thing about the
it
Steam
is.
Deck. It's got name brand. It's gonna get people like I'm buying a Steam Deck eventually. I'm not buying one of these things. I'm not going through the YouTube wormhole. Which one's the best? I'm just trusting that Steam is gonna be fine, which it has been. Like from everybody, all the reports. Get mad at that if you want. Be like, oh, blah blah blah. You're not doing enough research. Like, there's some things in life you just have to accept it. Like,
Take it on faith.
yeah, I'm just the name brand is fine, man. I'm trusting it. Which is exactly why the Steam Deck is a success. There's lots of people like me that aren't PC enthusiasts because those people were always buying the device. There's lots of people like me that had more money. Were like, yeah, this seems cool. This like it's easy, it's convenient, and I know Steam is like the PC brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of like Microsoft, but they bungled gaming with Microsoft in a whole other way. So yeah, like with PC gaming with it. So yeah, like that's ultimately why it was a success. Well, plus, I mean, the thing from everything I've seen and heard is like actually functional and good. But that's why, like, Asus is not doing Steam Deck. Could be successful, and I'm sure they know this and they have a realistic goal. But a competitor is so cute. There's a million of these things on the market. Like they're all quote unquote competitors, and they're not doing Steam Deck numbers.
We'll see. We'll see how well it does whenever it releases. Last thing here, PS5 sales have passed 38 million units. Sony sold 19.1 million PS5 units this past fiscal year, and they are aiming to sell 25 million for this next fiscal year. If they do that, if they hit that number, that will be a PlayStation record for most units ever sold in a fiscal year. Can they do it? With Spider-Man on the horizon, Final Fantasy 16 coming as well, which they just announced a bundle for.
Yeah,
It's
they got some heavy
possible.
hitters. Yeah,
It's and supply is in a way better spot than it was last year. I think they can. Maybe they can do it.
maybe. I feel like the PS5 sales have. I don't know. I just in my head I'm confusing with the fact that they're readily available as not selling as much, which I know is incorrect, but it's just how my brain works.
Yeah, because I mean, like this past quarter, it sold. I forgot the number exactly, like 6 point some odd million. Whereas last year for the same quarter, they only sold like two something million. So like this past
They
quarter, it
also just
sold
couldn't produce a lot last year.
right. So like that's what I'm saying. Like things are in a much better shape now. They got some pretty huge games coming down the pipeline. I can see it happening. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but when you have Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2 coming in the same year, that is a bit of easy mode right there. It's a bit of a cheat code.
Plus, whatever else they have in the chamber, we don't know.
Exactly. There's also that too. So like, I can see it happening. We will see what happens with that. We're going to talk about what we've been playing now. I'll briefly say Horizon because the only other thing that we have shared is Survivor, correct?
Yeah.
You haven't played anything else other than that, right?
No, I have not.
Okay, so then yeah, I'll say my Burning Shores stuff real quickly, and then we'll just wrap this up with Survivor. I finished Burning Shores. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The in regards, you asked me a question last week of does it look like when you look at it, can you tell? Okay, like it looks like it's meant to be PS5 only. Like, is it graphically anything meant to
comparatively
be PS5?
to Horizon
Right.
Forbidden West, which was a very good looking game on PS5, but was still cross developed.
Right. So after finishing the game, I can say, well,
Oh, you
finishing the
finished
DLC.
Burning Shores?
Yes, I finished the DLC.
Okay.
It's not long. It's short.
Okay.
Not too long hours wise. Honestly, I think it. I think I said last week the number should be anywhere from like 6 to 9 hours or so. I think that sounds about right. Like doing the story, doing side stuff as well. 6 to 9 hours.
Yeah, which I mean,
sounds about
you can
right.
knock out in a day easily.
Yeah, if you mainline the story missions, you could finish it in a couple hours for sure. But I did side stuff, also took my time exploring as well. Uh, so to answer your question, my answer is still a bit of yes and no. No, in the sense of it's more Forbidden West. So again, I played it on a PS5. It's not like going from the PS4 version of Forbidden West to the PS5 version and playing Burning Shores. Then it'd be like, oh, I can see a difference.
Yeah.
For me, it's like it's always been the PS5 version, so it still looks just as good as the base game did. The clouds are nice to be in and look around in. The water looks great and all. The yes comes from the very end, the final big boss fight, which I don't think this is a spoiler. It's been in the marketing. You fight a giant horse. You fight one of the big horse things at the end of this Burning Shores DLC campaign. That whole thing right there is like, that is the centerpiece. That is the showpiece of the Burning Shores expansion. And that right there, it's like, we probably could have done this on a PS4. Could not have. Like,
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's like the scale and the scope of it and like just everything else that's happening. Because like I don't know if I say it's a spoiler, but if you don't want to know too many details about the fight, when it first starts, Aloy, she like lands on this on like this destroyed building or whatever, and you see like kind of close by, it's been in distance, but you see like the Horus coming on down like the side of a mountain and all like that. And then you're like jumping off some buildings, and then you end up fighting the Horus. Like you're like directly under the Horus, trying to like destroy some stuff on there under it. And then you end up fighting the Horus like in person, face to face. And like it's this huge mechanical beast and all like that. It's a big thing. So the scale and the scope of that fight is something where I'm like, yeah, I don't think this could have been done on a PS4. And it makes me wonder, like, man, if this is what you could do on a PS5, I wonder like what you could do with a fully fledged Horizon game developed ground up for the PS5 start to finish. Like, it makes me wonder, like, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what it is that you all do with the full power of the system.
Yeah. Which follow up question? So I got two questions, but quickly, first one, what's the score, and did it make you want more Horizon, or are you like satiated till the next one?
So score, I would say 885. I think it was great. I'm not gonna say amazing, but 885 for sure. Um, I mentioned Seika last week, talking about the character Seika. She's Aloy's companion here in the Burning Shores and all. And by the time I finished the story, I mean, I felt this way before I finished the story, but by the time I finished, I was like, "Yo, Seika is awesome. She is such a great character. I want more of her in the next game. She needs to be in the next game in some way, shape, or form. It better not be some, oh, I'm here for one scene and that's that. Like, no, she needs to be an integral character in the story because she is so great, so much fun, and she has such a great dynamic in relationship with Aloy. I'm not gonna say any spoilers, but the way that story ends, you and I kind of talked about it a bit last week, as spoiler free as we could. Still not gonna be spoiler free here, but the way that their relationship wraps up in this expansion, this DLC here, I was like, yes, 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 I love this. Give me more of it. It felt so natural the way things progressed with them. And I want more of that relationship. I want more of that dynamic. I want more of Seika. She's so great. And I would love to see her in the next game. And then there's an epilogue as well, which with Silence, which teases more about what the driving thrust of the next game is going to be, what the driving mission will be. And it has me excited about, all right, the next game. I'm ready to see how that ends up playing out. It's a
Okay.
shame. I wonder how Silence will be involved in the next game, though, because
Yeah.
Lance Reddick has passed away. So I wonder, how they will write him on out the story.
Or if they'll just replace him with a different voice actor.
I don't think they do that because it's not like it was just his voice. He was the character.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, like they gotta write him out. They can't just replace him.
I mean, you can use the character models.
I don't think they'll do that.
I don't know. I know the ethics of that. I'm not saying
No, they're not
ethics
gonna.
down.
They're not
I'm
gonna,
simply saying we've seen Disney do it with with a far more daunting task.
no, I don't think they'll do that. They're. I'm pretty sure they're
We'll
gonna have
see.
to write
It'll
him
be
out.
interesting. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. What's your second question?
So, because like I had to look up while you were talking that, because I thought I'm like Burning Survivors being PS5 only. I was like, is Jedi? Because I was thinking like with my PS4 base PS4, like Spider-Man Miles Morales ran like ass. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, how are people still just playing? Like, I get like monetarily, some people just can't, but like the people. I'm thinking the people that like get on TikTok, YouTube, whatever, and I'm just like, it's not worth it for a PS5. And it's like, first of all, what the fuck are you gonna do? You go
What
buy
are
a
you talking
Series
about?
X. There's less exclusive games for that. Chill. But also, um, like there's been plenty enough games, and also the performance like jump alone, especially if you're not going from a pro, is more than worth it. And then I looked at Jedi Survivor. Surprisingly, for whatever reason, I thought it was PS4. It does not make sense. Is this, and so the bridge question as we jump from one to that now, from that to now Survivor is like, is this, are we done like with previous gen cross games? Is it really only going to be COD and sports games at this juncture? I think Dead Island might have been 4, but also this seems like an older game, definitely wasn't built from the ground up with the 5 in mind.
Armored
But like, are we
Core.
now at the wave where it's all current gen?
So
Do
you
you
mean
think
in
personally?
relation?
I do. It
Do you
seems like
mean
we have hit that threshold, but I'm curious how you feel about it.
so? I mean, I guess. Do you mean in regards to all games or just first party?
So all big games, all of the, like I said, the non-CODs, the non-Maddens, because
So
EA
the
loves
answer
to
will
milk
be.
as much money as possible, and yet here we are, Jedi Survivor, current gen only.
I mean, my answer, yes, but also some no. It's yes and no. Armored Core 6 coming out August 25th, PS4 and Xbox One. That's a huge
Now
game.
that seems like that could be a Bandai. That game has been cooking probably longer than we realize. but also Bandai Namco may view that as like a franchise that needs cross-gen for them, like to justify its existence. They need the bigger sales
Yeah,
base versus like EA, and I'm sure who makes who makes Apex and
Respawn.
Jedi Survivor Respawn. I'm sure Respawn just was like, listen, we want this to look and run as good as possible. This is Star Wars, your EA, and look at this install base. Like we
Yeah,
need it to be current gen.
I'll say
Um,
this. I think that we are nearing that point. I don't know if I'd say we are 100% there. I'd say we're most of the way there to being
because
PS5 Series
Spider-Man
X and
2,
S games only.
we're I don't know what the purports to been, but that's
It's only
PS5 only,
PS5.
right?
It's only
Yeah.
PS5.
So
Wolverine's only PS5. You imagine Naughty Dog's next game, only PS5. Who knows about the multiplayer? Last of Us. That might be PS4 and PS5, but I imagine that's PS5 only.
like
So
Redfall, also Microsoft Redfall, now
see,
next gen only.
yeah, that's what I'm
Um,
saying. I feel like we are for first party games, yes. For third party games,
it
it would
depends.
depends on the game, but I
Yeah.
fuld like third party, we're definitely
Street
nearing that
Fighter's
point where
cross
we're
gen,
going to
right?
be
That makes sense. That's not a heavily taxing game.
right. Tekken 8, I think, is next gen, new gen only. I think Mortal Kombat 12, I imagine, will be new gen only. It hasn't been
Mortal
announced yet, but I
Kombat's
imagine.
so big, NetherRealm made like I could see a version where that runs like dog shit, but they put it out there anyways. Because ultimately Warner Brothers, it's not NetherRealm as much as Warner Brothers doesn't care as much about some people getting mad, and would prefer to take their money.
But I mean,
Um,
Suicide Squad was going to be PS5 only. It wasn't going to be
but
last
that
gen, if I'm
the
right.
online component and how taxing that game may have been versus like a fighting game being like, yeah, we can make it work. Um,
Yeah, but at the same time, a fighting game lives and dies on its longevity and its support. You put it on PS4 right now, and then what? You drop support in a year? What's the point?
because those people that are like care about the community were already going to be on current gen. And like again, I'm like the ethics are one thing. Like I think it would be kind of disingenuous to put out garbage version. Like I just don't think the versions you can put out. People may be mad. I want to play my PS4 game. No, you're gonna be more mad about spending $60 on a fundamentally broken game, basically that plays terribly, than you will be just having to wait a year till you get your PS5 or Series X. Sometimes you have to save people from themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
As far as just like, don't waste your money on these because I think even if we get those older releases, I definitely think we're nearing that point where it's like these games cannot be running, especially if you're on a base 4 or a base 1 or a 1S instead of the 1X or the 4
Pro.
Pro.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting point, but no, I think we're first
I
party.
can't
We
imagine what
are.
Elden Ring ran like.
Yeah, I forgot what Digital Foundry said. I forgot, but no, yeah. First party, yes. Third party, I'd say we're like 75% of the way there to being this gen only. That's what I would say. But
Personally, I can't wait. I think it's
neither can
fantastic.
I. Neither can I. I cannot wait either. Speaking of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, that one, new gen only, sequel to Fallen Order, came out, and you and I have only you put in 2 hours, 2.5 because of technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I've only put in an hour and a half of time, but
I
you're like
maybe
not too much
we're
far
like
ahead of
10,
me.
15 minutes apart. So it's possible. Like, I think we're probably both, I think we're both probably, or maybe you're an hour and a half, I'm an hour 45. I don't know. But like, it's roughly that. Don't quote us exactly on the times, but I did have like a 30-minute setback. Yeah. Because of, we'll talk about it. I don't know if you want me to just dive
Yeah.
into it.
Well, I'll say this right now. We're gonna give our spoiler free impressions. Of
Yeah.
course, we'll probably talk a bit about like the beginning section of the game, without saying specifics about certain things. Like that big boss fight that happens at the end
Yeah.
of
We
the
won't talk
first
about
section.
that. Yeah.
We won't say who it is, but there is a big boss fight, of course. Um, so yeah, we'll talk about it spoiler free, not getting too in depth about certain story details that happened. Uh, Tyler, I kind of want to get your perspective a bit on this as someone who just played Fallen Order. I have not played Fallen Order since 2019. So me playing Survivor, it's been like, okay, I remember like, oh yeah, this was like this kind of sort of the last game, but my memory of the last game is so foggy that it's like the one-to-one comparisons is harder for me to make in terms of be like, oh yeah, this is better than the last game was. Whereas you're coming fresh off it. You played it like 2 weeks ago, so you can
Yeah,
make
and
that exact
we will
comparison.
we'll definitely be like if you consider mechanics, if you consider like abilities, spoilers, we're talking about that.
Yeah, I don't think that's a
These are,
spoiler,
yeah.
but yeah,
So like pretty much by the end of that first section, you can so like it is so much better as far as like you they don't withhold the double lightsaber from you, the double-sided lightsaber. They don't withhold dual wielding from you for dual wielding they withhold for you for like what
an
the
hour
first hour and
maybe.
a hour and a half ish.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you gain it back in that first big boss fight. Um, but the quality of life differences night and day. Now I was telling you pre-show, I happen to be able to play the pre-day one patch version somehow for like the first hour of that, maybe hour 15 or whatever, and then it like cut the game, or shut down on me abruptly, and that 100 gig update kicked in, and I was like, oh shit. So I probably would have been at least 4 to 5, been able to play another 2, 3 hours at least while I was working. Instead, that took up almost my whole shift. That downloading, my internet's not great right now. And so then I got to like come back and play that last hour, my last hour of my shift. So I was telling you, it ran so atrociously, like
yeah,
just truly terribly that first hour. I was still enjoying the combat, still enjoying the quality of life, because ultimately my issue was like just little things that I talked about, with Fallen Order, and this like it fixed all those, but it ran like ass. Like it looked like a PS3 game if I was in performance mode. Okay, I'm just on a 1080 monitor. I'm not playing on my 4K TV,
yeah,
but it still looked just awful. And so I toggled back and forth between the two, but performance mode ran terribly as well, like with a ton of stutters. And again, I've stressed this on other episodes. I am not the frames per second guy. Don't care if there's a little clipping or whatever, like generally forgiving, but this was bad. It was Gotham Knights level bad, maybe even worse. And I was like, what? And I hadn't kept too much up with the whole patch update drama and all that. Um, but then when it kicked in and I played it afterwards, like night and day, looks better, runs smoother. So it felt like a pre-alpha version, or like like a version right before final polishing. So,
yeah,
and I was telling you that was about 65 gigs, or 65 gigs of copying the game data that was on the disc, and then that was 100, the update.
yeah,
So that kind of matched up with what you were saying, is about 150 to 160 for
yeah.
you preloaded it and downloaded it and all that, right?
Yeah, because I just did the game digitally. I was going to do it physically, but then I heard that, oh yeah, the whole game's not on the disc. Like, to do a big download. So I said, nope, I'll just do it digitally because there's no point in me getting the disc then if that's the case. If I still have to download the rest of the game,
Collecting, baby.
no, it's not that serious. Not that serious for this game. So I just did
I
it
To be fair,
digitally.
I got a $10 gift card from Best Buy, so I did. Or was that? That's a pre-order bonus. I was also able to use a $5 Best Buy gift card from my reward. So paid
Nice,
$5 left, got a free $10. So that was nice. Um,
but
but yeah,
yeah,
9 day difference performance wise. And
yeah,
like
and
I
like
said, oh
real, I was
good.
gonna say real quick for me, like I haven't had any performance issues at all. I've been playing on quality mode on the PS5. I know some people might be like, ugh, you're not doing 60 FPS for a game like this. How could you? And no, I don't care. I'm doing quality mode because I want it to see, looking the best it can. And it's been running smooth for me so far. Again, mind you, I'm still on the first planet of the game. I'll say this much: the first
I
planet
just
is
left.
core.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
he had like I was telling Tyler pre-show, he missed like a cutscene and maybe just the teensiest bit of gameplay. That's like the
yeah,
difference between where we're at, just to flesh
yeah.
that out.
And because there will be B-roll of the game, I'm going to post B-roll of the game while we're talking about it. So I'm going to say this for audio listeners: the first planet, you are on Coruscant in the first planet. What you're doing there, I'm not going to say specifically what you're doing there because I think that gets into spoiler territory. Just because the way the game starts, if I say what you're doing there, it is spoilery. But you are on Coruscant in the first planet of the game, and yeah, it looks great. Like it looks great so far, so in visually in quality mode. I cannot speak to how performance is once you leave that world, leave that planet, and it becomes more like in the more open planets that are in Survivor. But Coruscant, it's fairly linear and it's looked great so far. It's run well so far. One exception has been during certain cutscenes. I've noticed that the frame rate for sure has gone down to like 30 at most, I think. Like, I think the cutscene that plays when you're about to do that big boss fight and the boss comes on down, like there's fire in the background and everything, and then they come on out of their thing, they go to fight you. The frame rate most certainly dropped down from 30 below there. Well, quality mode's already in 30 because I said 30 in most. It definitely dropped down into the 20s for sure. And I was like, ooh, but I mean, it was just a cutscene, not a big deal. And as soon as the fight started, it was back to 30. And whenever I was in a fight or outside of that cutscene, it was a locked 30 from what I could see. I believe maybe there was like another cutscene or so where the frame rate dipped, but I can't really think of any. The only one that really stuck out was the one right before that boss fight happened, where it was a noticeable drop on down.
Yeah. Um, I think I think it'll be interesting to see our thoughts now versus a week from now. Because one of the things I felt like, just and again, small sample size here, it felt like coming off of both of them recently, like just Fallen Order felt like such a Souls clone. Like it just pulled all of its DNA from the Souls franchises with like trying to make it baby Souls, but also like making really irritating. I talked about kind of like the stamina bars and just like the stamina bars alone. Those are bullshit. Like in Souls games, it's just not a thing. If you dodge and you hit them in a weak spot, that's damage. The idea
Yeah.
that like that is fundamentally changed to me is just a worse combat decision. This is significantly better, and they give you way more leeway with it and ways to kind of break down that right from the bat. I also want to point out how it
Yeah.
doesn't do the sequel shit of like all your powers have been stripped and blah blah blah. Like, of course, if you're fully maxed out, it's not going to be quite the same. But I mean, there's stuff that was like high up in the level tree that they just give you right off the bat, which is great. And it doesn't. It's clear they're not going to strip it because the whole skill tree is different items. So you can see like, oh,
Yeah.
this is the base level abilities we're giving you. So you've got this fun toolbox right from the start. And then you're going to expand upon that even more. So I imagine the total abilities are going to be like just an absolute shit ton, just a ton of
Yeah.
things to do and try by the end of the game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel as soul specific in its design choice. Feels a little more forgiving, which feels right because it's a Star Wars game. It's not a Souls game, and it's feels closer to like a just inspired by rather than being like this feels like philosophically a design clone. That could change with the open world. Maybe it starts like this. The first sequence we played isn't super open heavy. It's more akin to the last game, but again, more forgiving. I still hate the map. I'm just gonna give an update. I know people said it was improved. I
Interesting.
still
I was
think it
going to
sucks.
ask you if what you thought about it, because I don't. All I remember about the map from the last game was not liking it that much, but I don't remember if I thought it was
You
terrible. So I don't.
you
I
have
couldn't really
more
have a frame of
control of it
reference.
in this game, and you can kind of like spin it. Like you can get some better angles. Still, fundamentally, I think it sucks. Like
Okay.
I get that the way they're trying to like layer in everything within one level makes it difficult to have a map. Um, I still think this one ain't it. This is like probably my lone gripe.
Yeah.
Because I do generally appreciate all the updates. Think it's phenomenal. I like where they're going with the story, although there's like a side character introduced right away and then subsequently killed. That's just the only spoiler I'll get. Don't get too attached to some of the side characters. And that was a real
Are
bummer
you
because I
talking
was
about
like,
what I'm? It happened in the beginning of the game, right? On the first planet, or you
yes.
talking about a bit? Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about. I
I
was just
was
like, wow.
so bummed because I was like, this character seems cool. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately just like, well, that sucks.
You know what's funny though is because like I was sitting there, I was like, man, a lot of y'all just seem like y'all are wearing red shirts right now. I was like, I see the red shirts, I see them. Um,
and I like that the story doesn't like it's doing a little bit so far, but it's clear that they're not spoon feeding exposition of what happened between the first game to the second game. Like we're clearly going to learn bits and pieces of that
mhm.
as we go
Yeah,
throughout the game. I'm hoping it feels pretty natural. But it's not like, here's just all your exposition dump. This is what happened. Instead, it's like dropping us into this new situation, kind of slowly but surely figuring out more about what Cal's been up to, how he's like improved. And I like that. It feels like, it's asking its audience to like have a little bit of patience, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily want it to be baby's first game when I say, I want it to be less Souls like, but at the same time, like, you can make mature design and story decisions without it just being incredibly hard.
Yeah, like when it comes to the story, first off, real quick, I like the recap. The recap that they had at the beginning of that is basically like
It
your
was pretty
first
cool. Yeah, I
cutscene.
did enjoy
I was
it.
like, I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty epic. This is a pretty epic recap. It got me hyped before I even started the game. I was like, all right, this is hype. I can't deny that. Um, but no, yeah,
It's a good
I like
summarization for sure.
yeah,
If
like
you didn't play
it's
the
more.
first game, like you got the
I'd say it's
main
more of a
beats.
refresher. Yeah, it's more of a refresher for the first game as opposed to like, hey, here's a comprehensive overview of what happened and
Oh
the
yeah,
plot
yeah.
points. Um, but no, yeah, I like what you said about how the game. I mean, as at this early point, it's definitely hinting at and implying, some things that have happened in the time between Fallen Order and Survivor, but it's not doing the hey, let's talk about this thing that we clearly know about, but you the player don't know about right now, type thing, like that type of exposition dump. It's more just like, okay, so like these two characters are talking and it's kind of like they're having a natural conversation that they seemingly normally would have. And through the conversation, we're getting bits of pieces of, oh, so this is what Cal's been up to in the time since the first
Mm-hmm.
game. This is where this character kind of fell into Cal's life in between the games and all like that. And it's neat. I'm enjoying that so far. I'm looking forward to finding out more about what's been going on in the time since the two games and all like that. And another thing that I want to touch on is the gameplay really quickly. So I mean, I haven't played since 2019. So some of my muscle memory remembering how to play this game, it's kind of like me kind of playing with two left hands a bit. So I'm like, I'm doing fine in combat, but I'm also like making stupid mistakes. I remember, oh, I have to get myself back in that mindset of be a bit more patient and methodical when it comes to getting attacks. Be more methodical and conscious of the timing of your parries for laser blast and attacks and all like that. I have to refresh myself with it. But so far, I am enjoying the combat in the game. I do think it is fluid. The animations are really cool and they're really good. I think
Yeah,
it's
I would say they're better.
yeah,
Like
for
having
sure.
recently played them, there's some like really cool ones they've added. Just even what from what I've seen.
Right, yeah. And it's like it feels good participating in combat in this game. I don't know. I thought it felt fine in the last one. And again, my memory is hazy, but I'm enjoying it here in this game. It's feeling like a step up, like what I would expect from a sequel that has this budget, that has had this much time to cook in the oven and all, and take lessons and learnings. It's feeling like okay, this is feeling like really great, really solid. Has a great foundation here, and I'm looking forward to getting more abilities and seeing how all those feel, how all those play out. But when
I
you have the
mm,
dual with the dual handed the dual ends with the lightsaber
yeah,
for
double
like
sided.
that. Yeah, the double sided. That's a better way to say it. The double sided, using that in combat, it feels cool. It looks nice. And then when you get the dual wield and you use that in the fight that you get it in, it's like, oh man, this is neat. It feels great. And it's like, again, I'm still learning, still readjusting. And I expect with my next session that I play with the game, that I'll really be like, all right, now I'm back in it. Now I'm actually the Jedi and all. But it's feeling good so far. And I'm feeling powerful at the start of this game, like you were
Yep.
saying. You don't do the sequel thing of man, right, we gotta. For some reason, Cal doesn't remember how to do this between the two games, something that he should clearly remember how to do, and it's feeling great. And it reminds me, stick with me here, Kingdom Hearts reference coming in of Kingdom Hearts going in Kingdom Hearts 3. You start that game off where you have all of your spells. They're not max level, but you have all your spells and you have a bunch of attack moves that all feel great to do. You have your flow motion abilities and like you have so many resources at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 where you feel really powerful at the start of the game in comparison to every other Kingdom Hearts game where the game starts and like you don't feel powerful at all. Like you feel pretty weak and you work your way up to feeling powerful. Whereas Kingdom Hearts 3 starts and it feels like it feels like you're near end game Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora and you're at the start with Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Uh so I'm enjoying it here. I'm like, I'm feeling good. This feels great. This doesn't feel stiff. I don't
I,
feel weak here at the start
I
of Survivor.
even adding in, like, again, just like literally addressing so many of my complaints from the first game, adding a fourth difficulty option, and like the difficulty options all being parry based for people that like myself are not great at parrying. Um, because that's the thing, Souls is more forgiving about not being able to parry it so long as like you're willing to dodge, be patient, and whatever. Whereas this game with the stamina bar kind of threw that off. Um, and this one just being like, okay, yeah, we understand there's going to be more of a spectrum of people and how they play. So there's adding in the fourth option, which I appreciate because that's like, it wasn't the, taking all the training or complete trike training wheels of the like bottom one, but like the other one felt kind of like a little too challenging. So this one kind of more of a middle ground. And obviously there's like still the hardcore mode. So I appreciated that as well. And then like the dual wielding, having that kind of, it's not auto, uh, it's not auto parry, but it's like it's you kind of you have auto parry, but it's like paced out. It's it's a meter essentially.
Yeah.
Um, sick feature, and ultimately, I think they kind of started to understand, or like conceptually with gameplay, be like, hey, Jedi are supposed to feel powerful. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Like I still died once or twice, but
Same.
ultimately, like it was easier to learn from those mistakes and like, okay, I need to use this more in my arsenal, et cetera, et cetera.
What are you thinking of the platforming in this game as opposed to the last one? Because I know the last one people were like, "Oh, the
It's
platforming sucks," and I didn't mind it in the last
leaps
one.
and bounds better in this game.
Okay, yeah, I'm liking it here in this game too. I mean, with the bit of platforming you do in the first planet, like it's not too
Yeah,
much, but
giving
I'm
you
I'm
the
liking it. It's fine.
giving you the double jump right away makes things so much easier. Feels so
Yes.
much less Metroidvania-y, being able to splice right away, which isn't platforming, but still. And so that's great. And then the other, honestly, just I knew it was like little stuff because I didn't think the overall feel itself was bad in the last game, but the you don't like so in the in Fallen Order, like if you jump onto something you're climbing on, so you go from like wall running to jumping on there, you had to remember to also press another button to like grapple it and then stay. Otherwise, like if you did it, you press X to jump and then you like clearly go on it, land on it, then it's like having to hit that button, then going to like swapping the angles or the surface, having to hit that button again, just constantly annoying. Versus now it's like obviously you're jumping there. So, you're hit the button to wall run, hit the button to jump to climb, to jump over to climbing. We're not going to now make you hit another button because it can make it more seamless. You can chain more things together when it's not asking you to make a pointless button prompt, essentially.
I have one slight gripe with platforming. You just reminded me. It's annoying how when you're on a ledge and you want to climb up the ledge, like just go and stand, you have to press X to pull yourself up. Like, why can't I just like move up and then we just go up the ledge? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's like real first world problems, minor annoyance
most
type thing.
games.
But I'm just like, why do I have to press X to pull myself up? We're like, I'm literally moving up. I'm there at the ledge. Just let me move up if I keep holding up. You know what I mean? It's a minor annoyance. It's really a first world
It
problem type thing. I'm just
it's
like,
possible that may have been a sacrifice to avoid the auto like having or to have the auto climbing essentially. So in my opinion, that's a worthy trade-off at that point. But yeah,
yeah, it's really not a big deal. It's one of those things I was playing. I was like,
way less annoying
why?
than the other portion, but I can see that. Like I wouldn't mind if it was just more automatic, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so far, it seems like we're both enjoying it. We're enjoying the story so far for what we've been seeing. The gameplay, we're having a good time with it. Hopefully, your performance it stays good from here on in. for both of us, but we'll see once we get to other planets that have more open spaces. And yeah, I'm looking forward, just to getting more abilities, seeing what they have for me, doing some side quests, seeing these other worlds that we're going to be going to. Uh,
Yeah,
Everything seems
I
like it's teed up for success in this game.
yeah, I could see so far. Like, I can definitely understand the hype, and I can see, if you're a huge Star Wars dork, this being your goatee potentially. I mean, for me, the unfortunate part is even if I really enjoy this game, even if I'm like, this is a 9 or, God forbid it's a 10, the 10 out of 10
God
version of
forbid
this,
it's a 10.
yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure I'll have enough gripes. But like, for me personally, I was telling you this pre-show, like, I don't see a world where I like this more than Hi-Fi Rush, because Hi-Fi Rush I gave a 9.5, basically perfect to me, and that game, like, will probably get dethroned by Tears of the Kingdom, potentially, maybe Spider-Man, who knows, whatever else may come out this year. But like, that game is such a high bar, and I loved Resident Evil 4 remake, and I understand why people maybe that's their favorite, but to me that was like, sorry man, it's tough, but Hi-Fi Rush is still one. Hi-Fi Rush cannot cannot express enough how much I love that game. So
Yeah.
it's uphill climbing for Jedi Survivor, because there's just so, like, this really, I think at the end of the year, this podcast won't be around to recap it, but I think this could be one of the greats, like, this year. Just
Mm-hmm.
really is just like banger, 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 banger.
It's gonna be one of the greats. It definitely will. Like I know Street Fighter 6 will be one of those games just based off the demo, based off what I played of it. It will
I
definitely be
did
one of
just
those.
mess around with the character creator in that, which I think is, it's a hilarious character creator.
It is very
The
much
insane
hilarious.
amount of customization is pretty nuts.
Did you make someone that looks like you or
I didn't actually even finish making a character. My niece was watching me, and so we just goofed around with it and just like saw the extremes it would let you take it to.
gotcha. Okay. Well, that's our early impressions of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Uh, Definitely stick around. Next week we'll have more impressions on it, more in depth thoughts on the game since we will have gotten farther in it. And we're also both intending to play some Redfall as well.
Oh, I'm
Since
I'm
that
gonna have
drops.
beat Survivor, 100%.
Okay, well, Tyler will have beat Survivor. I probably most likely will
I
not have beat Survivor.
Redfall is gonna depend if it's somehow like incomprehensibly like a 20-hour game. I may not have beaten Redfall, but then again, getting it that early in the week, I my guess is I'll have beat both these games by the time next week rolls around. It's been a lackluster couple of weeks, so I'm gonna like make up for it,
Yeah,
and just
you got a lot of time on your hands.
bang
Well,
out.
it also helps that you can play during work. I'm not
Oh yeah,
able.
I
That's the
could
thing.
not do it 100%. I would beat probably Survivor without doing that, without working and being able to play, but I 100% could beat both.
No, yeah. You see, when I only got like 3, maybe 4 hours, if I'm lucky to play on a night on like a Monday through Friday, then
I
it's
feel
like,
it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I could only maybe I could get through a game if I'm lucky, depending on what the game is and whatever else I'm doing during the week. Uh,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I forgot Guardians comes out on Friday. That takes out Friday night for what I'm playing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't even know if we'll go see it. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched, I'm so behind on Marvel movies. I really don't care at this point, but I do love Guardians so much that it's like, maybe we'll go see it.
Looking forward to seeing it. But that's going to wrap up episode 105 of the Play to Win podcast. Thank you all so very much for watching and or listening. It's the beginning of the end. It is in. It is nigh. Uh,
Nice little 1.5 hour episode.
yeah,
Relatively short for us, but
especially with what we had to talk about. It was a good one though.
yeah.
It was a fun conversation. Gonna be getting a bit fast and loose here as we start to wind things down. But I'm still gonna say this because it's part of the job. Subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. Hit up the show on hit up the notification bell. Sorry, leave that like, leave that comment. Let us know your thoughts. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Are you liking it so far? Are you not into it? Are you having performance problems? I know PC is having like a rough go with things, but how is your experience with the game so far? Let us know. Uh, Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Play to Win Game for updates on the show and other things that may get posted there. And also hit up the site playtowinggames.wordpress.com. It's a home for all the content, so check it out. Tyler, where can people find you?
Good Game We Lost, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Um, Although I feel like I've said it like 3 times in this episode, so I'm sure they already know.
Doesn't matter. You say it again. You say it again, damn it.
You're so strict for the rules. That's why you're wearing yourself out, man.
You could find me on Twitter at TylerMiller2496. And my blog is in my Twitter. But if you want a more direct direction to my blog is on Twitter as well at The Comfy Spot. And the blog itself, thecomfyspot.wordpress.com. You can find all that. If you go to my Twitter, you literally find a link to each thing. So check it all out. Check it all out. Words are all weird today. It's just because mentally it's like, you know what? Fast and loose. Mentally,
loose, baby.
That's where it is. Thank you all so very much for watching and or listening. We'll talk with you all next time. Have a good one,
everyone.